Hi everyone, Claire Fluffle Kirby fan here, and sorry that this spotlight is just a little bit late. As I'll soon be saying, this video is actually really hard for me to make, and I had to go into some unfamiliar territory, but it's okay, everything's fine, everything's fine. If you wanna help everything be fine, of course, you can leave a like and ring that bell after subscribing. You can be notified whenever I upload. I don't know, I think it sounds good. And of course, you can't forget to leave a comment voting for the next ability that we cover. This is a Kirby video after all. Voting ends on December 20th, 2022, so if you're watching this after the fact, you know that you gotta tell me what you think about Smash. Do you like it? Hate it? Have no idea if I'm talking about Super Smash Bros. Or the Smash Kirby copy ability? Let me know. And now, without further ado, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into? Okay, as I'm sure you all know, we'll be covering Smash today. Smash is a Kirby copy ability that's appeared a few times, but it is, of course, inspired by Smash. Smash Bros. Like the platform fighters, you know, like Rivals of Aether? Yeah, not that one. Go play Rivals! Of course, we are going to be talking about Kirby games today, as I always do, but we're going to be a bit spicy as well and talk about every Smash game too. Every Smash game, and the Smash ability too. Okay, alright, this is getting old already, you know what we're doing, but I want to make something perfectly clear. Over here, around these parts, the Kirby copy ability spotlights, we look at how abilities do in Kirby speedrunning. It's a hoot and a holler, I get to repeat myself dozens of times when I talk about Kirby's adventure, it's funny. But unlike Kirby, Smash has an actual competitive scene. Nintendo may say otherwise, annoyingly, but this raises the concern of how do I compare competitive Smash to Kirby speedrunning? Oh, silly viewer. That answer is oh so easy. I'm not. We're looking at Smash speedrunning instead. It actually has a lot in common with Kirby beyond the obvious copy ability. Wow, Smash-inspired Smash? This is actually getting pretty confusing. But for those who aren't in the know with the ranking for Kirby and competitive Smash, doesn't really matter since he's only good in one game, but if you must know, Kirby's at the worst in Melee, then Smash 4, then Brawl or Ultimate, could really go either way, and then Kirby is insanely broken in Smash 64. But will that sync up with the speedrunning? Will Kirby be a Brawl Meta Knight or a Brawl Jigglypuff? Will this insanely long intro keep on going? Like, comment, and subscribe? Let's just get started. It should come as no surprise that Kirby isn't very good for Smash 4 speedrunning, but it may surprise you, certainly stun the heck out of me, I'm still recovering, to know that Melee isn't on the very bottom. No, Kirby legitimately just contributes nothing for speedrunning Smash 4. Power creep hits Smash really hard, much harder than your average Kirby game. Fire in Kirby, for example, is still good almost 30 years later. The same simply can't be said for Smash Bros. But Claire, you might be asking, what's power creep? Well, I am glad you asked. And you definitely asked. We're moving on. Basically, power creep happens when new things are introduced to something that's already existing, and those things change the meta around them for way too many potential reasons. It's a large factor in why old things in long existing franchises can struggle to keep up, even if they were really good at one point. I talk about Tornado Kirby a lot in these, and that's a great example. Better than Smash 4 Bayo and Adventure, below average in most other games. Kirby actually has some interesting contributions to Smash speedrunning as a whole throughout the other games, but everything here is either really suboptimal, like the one Wii U Classic Mode run that I could find, or something that you're forced to use Kirby for, like an event match. For things like All-Star Mode, Kirby just doesn't contribute anything. Yikes. The only upside is that Ganondorf, stay with me now, got the speedrunner's blessing with his new side special, Flame Choke. On stage, doesn't matter, but if you use it off stage, he'll grab you and slam you into the Blast Zone. It's a cool name, right? Anyway, Ganondorf will be KO'd second, and since most speedrun modes go by one stock only, this is, again, a blessing. I bring it up, not because it makes Kirby better, but it's a lot like Kirby sighting, something that we'll be getting into later. This is much better on all fronts, but again, we'll get into that later. Can't reveal all my secrets right away now, can I? Especially with how much research I had to do for this video. Oh my god. what's this? We're actually talking about a Kirby game. Finally, I know what I'm talking about again. Anyway, Smash in this game isn't bad or anything, but the way that this game works doesn't do it any favors. See, this game is all about the challenge stages, speedrun-focused challenges that give you an ability and times you on how quickly you can clear it. These are great. Parasol has one, so that's how you know it's right up my alley. But the only ones that let you pick an ability are the Magolor races, and there are only 4 of those. The first 3 are also kind of ability locked, meaning that Smash only technically matters for one of them. Smash is really good there, but if it isn't your first spotlight, I'm sure you've noticed that this game uses the exact same game engine from Return to Dreamland, which means, of course, Wing is the dominant go-to ability for all of these that it's applicable for, although in fairness, Parasol also does respectably well. And honestly, really so does Smash. It's just a bummer that you can only technically use it for one race. It beats the snot out of every other ability, just not Wing or Parasol. But what about Smash's actual challenge stages? Does it have a good time there? Yeah, it does. Smash is very unique in how it's a combat-focused ability. Look at what it's based on, all that jazz, and the challenges are based around that fact. Despite having a pretty good dash attack, and trust me, abilities that don't have a good dash attack would kill it to have one, it mostly focuses on taking out enemies and mini-bosses with Smash staples like Hammer, Grabs, and the neutral air. It's all really neat. If you like Smash and want to see what it can do, check out the description for the sources for the speedruns. If the video hasn't been axed yet, watch the full run. It's really short and really cool, and that's really neat. Yeah, still no melee. What gives? Isn't Kirby actually kind of okay in Brawl? For competitive, for sure, but speedrunning Kirby's actually kind of okay, I guess, but anything that you could use Kirby for is, again, either mandatory or outclassed. For the most important one, yes, you are forced to use Kirby for subspace, but there is a huge difference between actually good and not good, but hey, I don't have a choice, Ranger Kirby to the head. If you had a Game Boy and a copy of both, I don't know, Kirby Superstar and Barbie Gamer Girl for the Game Boy, you'd only be able to play one game. There's actually a Kirby fanfic out there somewhere that says Kirby Superstar is for the Game Boy though, so... No, we're getting really off track now. Kirby actually fares pretty well for both the target test and classic mode, but there are some issues. For target test, Kirby's got some great stuff, but the floatiness really hurts. If you fall slowly in a game mode that rewards falling fast, you're in trouble. It would be like if you wanted to get something from upstairs that was really important and someone dropped it down to you so that you could catch it. Which would you get faster? A drawing you really liked or Barbie Gamer? I gotta get Barbie out of my head. For classic mode, Kirby's amazing. Yeah, nice 180 compared to everything else, right? On the lower difficulties, Kirby's perks aren't quite needed as much, but once you get to normal and hard, things start to change. Ivysaur, of all characters, dominates modes like easy, but the AI gets a lot cheaper when you up the difficulty. They start shielding more, they stop playing fair, get super aggro, that fun stuff. What's even more fun than any of what the AI is doing is, well, this. This is the core of what makes Kirby so good in Smash speedrunning. Period. Over. I'll get into more specifics soon enough. I would explain it now, but if I'm being perfectly honest with you, this video was actually basically finished. I just wanted to fact check Brawl specifically one more time, and then I found out, hey, you know what? This Smash speedrunning thing that I am totally new to, actually. Yeah, I was wrong about Brawl Kirby in classic mode and just classic mode. Kirby's actually insanely, really good. Alright, so in Kirby's Dream Collection, Smash Kirby had a great dash attack, but was mostly limited to boss fights and enemy gauntlets. But this is Amazing Mirror, an open-world, almost Metroidvania-style game. The possibilities are limitless. Oh, it doesn't have the dash attack? Wheel is in this game anyway? So are abilities like Missile and Burning? Oops. Yeah, Smash sees no use in an any percent dominated by Wheel. I know other abilities also see use, but hush. Even in Hundo, sadly, the rarity of it and its overall lack of movement options make it a poor option. But it's number 5 on this list, so it obviously has something going for it. And of course, it's how amazing it is for the boss endurance. Simply put, Smash is the best ability in this game for taking out the bosses. This may not amount to as much as you'd want it to overall, but when movement barely matters, you are free to just go to town and absolutely destroy everything in your path. It feels great. But what makes it so good, you may ask? All of its moves just melt the boss health bars. It has Hammer, and this is a Kirby game, so that just kind of goes without saying. It has Final Cutter, which is super niche, but it's still great as an anti-air option and for hitting bosses far away when need be. There's the Neutral Air, which isn't the strongest, but the range is so good that it makes Bowser's pivot grab in Smash 4 blunt. And of course, there's Stone, which we covered last time. Check that video out for more details since they're basically the same. Ranking Amazing Mirror here was tough, since it's the best option for most boss fights, but sees zero use in any percent or hundo. Maybe at some point in history it saw use in hundo, but even if it does right now at this very moment, as we have this honest face-to-screen and speak to each other, it isn't leaving enough of an impact for me to say otherwise. So how do you rank that? Overall, I'd say it's really good. This is actually really similar to the game that we have in the number 4 slot. In this case, Amazing Mirror bosses are just some of the trickiest in the series, so trivializing them is really helpful. Any ability that can make a total joke out of the Mega Titan at least has to have something going for it, right? Ugh, finally! Considering what I had to say for Brawl in the Dream Collection, you may have figured this out by now, but yeah, Kirby's pretty good for melee speedrunning. This may come as a surprise, since in competitive, Kirby is hands down the worst character in the game. Some people may tell you that it's Ness, or Zelda, or especially Bowser, but that's just coping with the fact that a character like Kirby is the worst. But hey, if Kirby being bad and competitive really bums you out, look at speedrunning. Kirby's really good here. Well, selectively good, I guess. I should note that for most game modes, Kirby offers very little. Kirby's time for break the targets is really bad, but I'm not gonna penalize Kirby for that. Are you really going to tell me that this is a bad thing when Luigi's break the targets is right there? No, you better not. These are all designed differently. It's just impossible to compare these. Similarly, Kirby isn't great for adventure mode, but compared to most other characters, Kirby actually fares okay. I won't say that that's a great thing for Kirby, but it isn't really a bad thing either, just a neat little fact that exists. But 10-man melee, 100-man melee? Yikes, not looking good. Kirby ranks 20th for both modes out of 25 characters, although hilariously, Kirby is tied for 20th in 10-man melee with Marth specifically, of all characters. Imagine telling somebody who goes to tournaments that Kirby is tied with Marth on a melee tier list. Someone please try this and tell me how that conversation goes. Now, for some good stuff. Unlike Brawl, event matches don't character lock you nearly as often. Kirby still barely sees any use. Jigglypuff just dominates these, and a pink puffball being the best is really all that matters. But I was surprised to see that Kirby is reasonably good for the All-Star battles. More importantly than that, though, Kirby is the #1 choice for the Big Yoshi event, Dino Wrangling. Frankly, that makes up for any of Kirby's shortcomings in the history of history. Like, come on, look! It's the Big Yoshi! As you can see, Kirby's usefulness comes from the trick that we've all angered somebody with at some point in our lives, Kirby-side, aka running off stage and inhaling your opponent. What's great about doing this in Melee, specifically, is that you not only get all of your jumps back when you do this, but if you and your opponent die, your opponent dies first. This may not matter to you and your friends, but in cases like the All-Star battles for Event Match, and of course, Big Yoshi, who are one-stock fights, this is literally everything. For most event matches, Kirby can be good, but is still outclassed, if only because the overall best characters like Puff, Ganondorf, and Fox benefit from the format more. This isn't like classic mode. Event matches actually have more going on in them. There are more things than just take out the opponent one time. But for any of the ones where you do need to take the opponent out just one time and can Kirby side for a quick win, Well, there you go. You got a quick win in a speedrun. What else could you really want? But hey, speaking of classic mode, let's talk about classic mode. Kirby doesn't have much to show for the lower difficulties. Really, you're better off just hitting enemies with stronger characters and being done with it. But on normal and above, Kirby impresses big time. Look, the AI might seem cheap if you try to fight them fair, but when they rush in to attack you only to get Kirby sighted, GG, kid. For real though, this is insanely valuable and pretty much dominates what every other character can do that aren't Ganondorf. Unfortunately, overall, Ganondorf is still the better pick due to how strong he is, but Kirby doesn't fall too far behind. In fact, on very hard, going by RTA instead of IGT, real time instead of in-game time for those of you who only speak English and not speedrunning, Kirby actually has the best time on very hard classic. Yeah, try showing a Melee tier list to anyone and look at their face when they see Kirby in the #1 spot. Trust me, everyone, Kirby is awful in competitive. It causes me immense pain every single day of my life. A pain so intense, it can only be cured by the Big Yoshi! Ultimate is such a weird game to talk about, literally only because there are so many characters here. To get ahead of myself, Kirby ranks 10th in the 9.9 Classic Mode speedrun, tying with Incineroar. What does any of that tell us? Is 10th impressive? Or doesn't sound it, but doesn't 10th out of 80 characters sound a whole lot better? Is Kirby's Classic Mode better or worse than Incineroar's? It's so much, like my head's spinning. But, okay, let's slow down, take a deep breath. Ultimate doesn't have as much of a focus on speedrunning compared to the first 3 games, only closer to where Smash 4 is, but this is more because of a lack of modes than anything. You've got Classic, World of Light, Century Smash. That's basically it, and Kirby doesn't do very good in Century Smash. And no, I didn't forget All-Star Mode. It's totally different compared to what it used to be, so that just doesn't have a category anymore. Really sad, actually. So if we look at Classic Mode first, we can see the main 3 categories are Classic 0.0, Classic 5.0, and Classic 9.9. Simple enough, but things get complicated when you look at the rankings. Like I said, Kirby is 10th for 9.9, but is also 14th for 0.0. Okay, some characters can cheese better than Kirby, big deal. But then you look at Classic 5.0 and see that Kirby's ranked 37th? No idea what happened there, although there are more runs for 9.9 and especially 0.0, so it could just be comparatively outdated strats or not as many people are interested in running 5.0 with Kirby. Look, I know how the Kirby run works. I'm not researching 79 other characters for 5 seconds of video. I'm not big enough on this platform to do that yet. Get me there by giving each video a like, comment, and ring the notification bell after subscribing. If you've been watching throughout the whole video, you may be wondering, how the heck is Kirby so much better here compared to Smash 4 when Ganondorf is still literally right there? Hi, Ganondorf. Good question, and to answer that, we need to look at one particular move of Kirby's, that being the forward smash. There are 2 major changes to this move here. First, the move reaches way farther. This was a blessing for competitive, and the same applies for speedrunning. More importantly for both ways of play, though, is the knockback increase. Basically, it kills way earlier. Yay! Oh, and Kirby got a great new dash attack, but for speedrunning, that's just kind of a nice thing. The forward smash buffs are a lot better. On top of all of that, every character has their own unique classic mode. Comparing them isn't nearly as hard as, say, break the targets, since they all still function the same. Fight a bunch of characters throughout 6 stages, die on the bonus level because who just cares, fight a boss, earn your big W. This just also means that a lot more characters get to shine, since Kirby's classic mode, for example, is totally different from Ganondorf's. Moving on to World of Light, the difficulties basically all share the same strats for 99% of the game, so the only real distinction is between New Game and New Game Plus. For a blank, fresh save file, you start with Kirby and basically make a rush to get Bowser to abuse the rest of the game with. And that's kind of a bummer. I mentioned during Smash 4 that there's a big difference between actually being good and Barbie Gamer Girl, or being around but not actually being good. So it stands to reason that Kirby still wouldn't be good here, right? Wrong! About Kirby anyway. I don't know about Barbie Gamer Girl. I guess you can let me know if you've played it, all 2 of you. The big difference between World of Light Kirby and Smash 4 Kirby is that in World of Light, you have other options before you get Bowser. You need to unlock at least one character almost immediately to advance, and along the way to Bowser, you get 3 or 4 more. And this is where availability comes into play. Basically, Kirby being around before anybody else and still being good until you get Bowser is the core reason why Kirby is the best character in World of Light. Well, again, except for Bowser. Bowser's definitely better. Of course, selecting a character takes time, but with the insane amount of spirits that you have to fight along the way, you could very easily make up that time if Kirby wasn't as good as they were. But most fights tend to end very quickly. They're very gimmicky, and in any percent, you skip as many of the obnoxious ones as you possibly can. And with that being the case, Kirby's buffed forward smash can come in handy once again. And hey, if there is an obnoxious fight that Kirby's forward smash can't instantly solve for you, or you're playing Hundo and you have to do these fights, hey, just Kirby side. Yep, that's still a viable option for speedrunning, even as recently as Ultimate. I'm glad power creep can't ruin everything. And to nobody's surprise, Kirby, even in speedrunning, is at their best in Smash 64. Believe it or not though, in a more speedrunning focused sense, the top 3 of the Smash games are all pretty close. Smash 64 Kirby is far and away the best character, but in Melee and Ultimate, Kirby had a lot of things going their way. Melee is the best Kirby side of them all, Ultimate has the forward smash and World of Light, and Smash 64 has an insanely overpowered version of Kirby in a game where most characters are insanely overpowered. Makes it kinda hard to stand out here, you know? This is reflected in the only modes that actually matter for what we're looking at, those being very easy 5 stocks, normal 3 stocks, and a very hard 1 stock. All of these are classic mode, by the way. Again though, for break the targets and board the platforms, which is Smash 64 specific for some reason, it's too hard to tell if the levels or characters are at fault. But for classic mode, we're seeing the strats that we've been seeing for this whole video. Kirby side is good, even at its most limited. You barely even move with it in this game, it's crazy. I love it in the fights against these really heavy enemies like Giant Donkey Kong and Metal Mario, because you get to see these guys just absolutely drop. Especially Metal Mario, look at that! It's also really funny seeing this happen to Pikachu, given how absurdly good the Little Rat's recovery is in this game, and justice is served. What's really neat about Smash 64 is that, unlike every other game in the series, Classic Mode is the same every single time. Sure, in the other games the setup is the same, but characters you fight are different. In 64, you always start with Link, then fight the Yoshi team. Yeah, that doesn't have the same ring to it, I don't like it. Anyway, then Fox, break the targets, the Mario Brothers, etc. This is probably the best classic mode for comparing speedrun viability, and for all the relevant speedruns, Kirby does amazingly well. Just for fun though, I figured we could take a look at Kirby's break the targets and board the platforms, and maybe see why Kirby's times aren't actually very good. And yeah, it's like I said, it really is the fault of the layouts. Break the targets isn't so bad, I guess. Kirby isn't admittedly the speediest character, but still can get the job done. If you compare Kirby to, say, Pikachu though, you can see the big difference. Pikachu only has 1 or 2 that are kinda out of the way, while most of Kirby's aren't placed practically or in Kirby's favor. It's more the fault of the targets than Kirby. Kirby's board the platforms is actually insane though. Seriously, who thought that this was a good idea to speedrun, especially compared to every other character? Just ugh. I love the stone trick used to bypass the startup of stone by sliding off of a ledge with it, something that you could actually do in later games until Smash 4 removed it in a patch of all things. But these platform placements make me want to puke. Blah. Who thought this was okay? I'd hate to end things on a sour note like that, but hey, that's why Smash 64 is only number 2. If you've been around the channel long enough, you've probably already seen number 1 coming, so let's just dive right in. Okay, so to get 1 point out of the way right now, you can only get the Smash ability from an amiibo. Amiibo aren't allowed for normal speedruns, so why the heck is it number 1? Well, first of all, you're wrong. You can actually get Smash from multiple different levels as early as World 1 even. You don't go for it because it's too out of the way though. This is different from, say, UFO, which is a 100% reward, and I still count that as a negative. Speedrunning just be like that sometimes. And in fairness, yeah, it's out of the way, but I will still criticize Smash here for not being used. Sorry, but sometimes you just gotta learn how to roll with the punches, right? And if you can't roll with the punches, try rolling with Smash. That was a strange segue, but seriously, this ability is insane for arena ability solos. See, I count these because when we talk about ability solos on here, you kinda need to use an ability. It's half of the name. I mean, okay, I can talk about Smash's true arena run without Smash, but it's kind of like dividing by zero. The world would just kind of immediately end if I tried that. It's scientifically proven, by the way. You can try it, I just can't. Anyway, Smash is good for exactly the same reasons why Hammer is so good. This should come as no surprise, given Hammer is part of Smash's moveset, but there's a bit of a give and take here. On the bright side, Smash not only has Hammer to work with, but Kirby's Rapid Jab, Neutral Air, Stone, Final Cutter, that same great dash attack from the Dream Collection that I wish Kirby would get in the actual Smash series, come on! But it's all good stuff either way. On the downside, everything is weaker here compared to how they function as normal abilities. Hammer deals more damage than Smash's Hammer, Stone deals more damage than Smash's Stone, etc. Frankly, this fits the state of Kirby and Smash Bros. Right now, but I don't want to cry about Kirby needing buffs for competitive Smash here. I do that enough on my own time. Still, weaker or not, having Hammer in your kit is simply enough to make this one of the best abilities in the game. Planet Robobot is absolutely insane, and while I've said this a bunch of times in older spotlights, I'll explain it just in case any Smash players are curious and don't know anything about this. I look out for all of you. Basically, bosses prior to this game had a nifty little thing called invincibility, or a mercy period after being hit. Basically, a set period in which you couldn't hurt bosses after they took damage. If you use, say, Smash Kirby's Rapid Jab, they wouldn't continuously be hit. They'd be hit, they'd have that mercy period, and then be hit again. The length of that mercy period varied from game to game until Planet Robobot said, "No mercy!" Now, if you use different attacks, bosses will take damage no matter what. You can't just use one move that stays out for a while and expect quick damage, since those have their own built-in cooldown for actually dealing damage. But if you use, again, Smash Kirby's Rapid Jab and follow it up with Final Cutter, bosses will take all of that damage. This made Hammer absolutely absurd, even compared to older games, because it had an aerial spin that dealt big Kirby damage. Yeah, that feels good. I like that one a lot. Smash, despite not having something like this since Melee, also shares this, so the bulk of what Smash Kirby does in Planet Robobot is basically what Hammer does. Again, you have some nifty tools like Stone, Final Cutter, and especially that dash attack. Move it matters, even in boss fights. But Hammer Kirby being good for boss fights is why Smash Kirby is also good for boss fights. Shocker. Now, how good is it? If you compare every ability's true arena time, of course, ignoring the parts where you don't use an ability, why is that boss linked? Smash ranks in a game as absurdly power-crept as Planet Robobot due to the no mercy thing we talked about, new abilities being really strong, and many returning abilities getting noticeable buffs since Triple Deluxe had nerfed them. It gets third place, losing only to Hammer, which we've already talked about, and the actual best ability in the game for bosses, Ice. Basically, it's better than every ability in the game, except for the one that it was specifically made to be weaker than, and the actual best ability. Totally insane. And with that, that was Smash Kirby. So, time for the age-old question, was Smash Kirby any good in these games? Competitive is obviously a big fat no, but don't worry, we can go back to caring about that again in one more minute. For speedrunning, Smash Kirby is good. If we're just talking about the copy ability, as we normally do, it has a fun range of okay to good to amazing for the Dream Collection, Amazing Mirror, and Planet Robobot, respectively. It not being in a lot of games and only having use in boss rush modes does sour things a little bit, hence why I'm saying it's just good, but it could be worse. We've seen worse. Much worse. Factoring the Smash series into this equation, though, makes things look a lot better. I mean, okay, Smash 4 is a very low point, and I'd struggle to say that Brawl is much better, but looking at 64, Ultimate, and of all things Melee, Kirby really starts to impress. I'm glad that Kirby holds up well in these, since going into this video, I had absolutely no idea how Kirby fared in Smash Bros. Speedruns. I speedrun Kirby, not Smash, but honestly, I'm kind of thinking of learning how some of these games work and giving runs a go. Definitely not Smash 4, not after this video, but the others, even including Brawl? Maybe. They all look fun, even if I know there's RNG involved. But we play Amazing Mirror over here. That's an amazing speed game, and there is no way the RNG can possibly be worse in Smash compared to Amazing Mirror, right? Right? Either way, that will do it for today's video. Sorry there haven't been many videos recently, and again, that this spotlight is late, but it's better late than never, I guess. I either have to look at it like that, or be crushed by the immense guilt of not uploading, and if I'm crushed, I can't make videos, so there you go. Remember to vote in the comments for what you would like the next copy ability spotlight to be, unless you're voting after the deadline. Then just leave a comment to help me out, because I will appreciate you forever if you do. Thank you for watching, I have been Claire, and I will see you in another video. Bye!